So last thing before we practice is this phrase was in the little blurb. The body learns on yes. And somatics is fundamentally a non-pathologizing approach to change. So we don't first ask, what's wrong with you? The very first question we ask is, what is it that you want? What is it that you've been longing for? What is it? What is your calling? Right? Those are big questions, but we transform towards something because of how the mind body works. We transform toward things. It's possible to transform away from things. Absolutely, there's time to set boundaries and go, okay, that is the thing, or that is a way of being that I need to transform. But really, we always practice toward something. So I can practice toward being more loving. I can practice toward being more generous. I can practice toward having more centered boundaries. It's more difficult to say, I'm going to be less cranky, right? Because then all we're attending to is the cranky instead of the practices that we want to embody instead. All right. So thank you. The artwork on the wall, I appreciate, not mine, but I liked this office too. I had to keep moving places until I found the internet that would work this high in the mountains. All right, let's do a practice together, and then I'll kind of open it up for question and answer. I'm going to stand to do this practice. We're going to do two actually, but you can stay seated if you'd like. I can't model both at the same time, sadly, but I think it'll be obvious. So if you'd like to stand with me, please do. Adjust my camera a little bit. And I'm going to encourage all of you, if you're writing or you're typing, just kind of set it down. We'll just practice for a few minutes. But this lets us kind of enter the learning from a different space. So standing or sitting, just let your hands be at your sides. If you're standing, just line your femurs, those long bones, in your legs or your lower body just under your hips. And this is a centering practice. And inside of each of our practices, there's a purpose. What are we trying to embody? That's what we're practicing. So it's not like kind of going to the gym or going to yoga class. It's really going, who am I trying to become? And then what practices am I in purposely to get in those repetitions and kind of lay down that possibility in my soma. So centering is getting present, open, and connected to what we care about. That's what we're practicing inside of centering. Present, open, and connected to what we care about. So sitting or standing, go ahead and bring your attention into your body, into your soma. And you could follow your breath into your body, but really drop your thinking self into your feeling and your sensing self. And you can feel for temperatures. Where do you feel warmer and where do you feel cooler? Let yourself notice all the way from your head, maybe to your sides, to your hips, to your lower legs and feet, coming inside of yourself. Yeah, coming inside of your own aliveness. To find that you can also notice the pressures, like where do you feel softer or more relaxed? And where do you feel more held or tense? And we don't need to change those right now, but again, these are ways to just drop inside of our own skins, inside of our own aliveness. All right, feeling, sensing, and then let's all drop our attention down to center. And an easy way to find that is put your thumb on your belly button and then just drop your hand underneath. So it's this lower, your lower belly, your abdominal area. This is our center of gravity when we're standing. Drop your attention there, drop yourself there. See if you can feel your belly under your hand. And from your belly side, right, from the inside, feel your hand on the outside. All right, from center, we're going to center in 4 directions, okay, 4 dimensions. So let's center first in length. And what we're doing there is we're settling down into our lower bodies while we're lengthening up at the same time. Just coming back into your full length. Again, you can do this seated or standing. And if possible, just let your weight rest more into your lower body. There's so much about those inherited practices that pull us up and out, right? Up into our thinking, out into our devices. Yeah, so we're going to just come into our full length and kind of make friends with gravity, settling our weight down. And then in length, we're also centering in dignity, right? Your inherent dignity, the inherent dignity of all of you in this class, the inherent dignity of all life, right? That in and of itself is a practice. Yeah, so centering in dignity, your own, and the dignity of all life. All right, that is length. So from all that length, let's now center in width. This is our second direction. So let yourself widen across your collarbones into your shoulders. Maybe over the next 2 breaths, let your ribs widen side to side. Hips, let your hips come into the width of your hips, widen out in your lower body. You can even widen your feet or ear to ear. There are many things inside of trauma and also inside of our social conditions that ask various ones of us to shrink, right? It's like, don't take up space, shrink, or ask some others of us to like puff up and pretend. Like, oh yeah, it's good, I know what I'm doing, right? That puffing up or that shrinking, neither of those are a centered width. Just want to be centered with, widen out left and right, balancing left and right, being present. By feeling sensation, because they're always happening in present time, by feeling sensation is the quickest way to get present. All right, width, centering in width. We look at this as a relational space. I can let myself out, I can let others in. This is a place from which I can have centered boundaries or really connect more deeply with the relational space. All right, now we have length, we have width. Let's go for depth. Back side, inside, front side. So just drop your attention inside of your body. You can feel or imagine your skeleton. You could feel or imagine your organs, right? Your lungs moving, your heart pumping, maybe your last meal digesting. And then inside of yourself, attend to your backside. So maybe feel for the backside of your heart. Feel for your low back or the back of your legs, your hamstrings. And also sense and feel the space behind you. Right, we think of that as history, ancestors, right? All the learning at your own back. I often think about all the social justice movements and liberation movements at our backs that really let our lives be different than those of sometimes even our parents. Okay, backside, and then the volume inside of you. See if you can expand your depth, maybe 3%. Maybe it's a bigger breath front and back. Maybe it's that you really feel the depth of your hips and pelvis or your chest. Just allowing there to be more space inside of you and a deeper listening inside of you. And then facing forward, feel the front side of your body. Maybe your kneecaps or your sternum, your toes. And then balance back and front. So you're not pulling back, but you're also not pushing forward. You can really be in your back and your insides and your front. Connected to history, connected to your internal landscape. And then also facing into the future, right? Which means also facing into the unknown. All right, then if you can, just feel your whole self centered in length, width, depth. Right, that's a way to get ourselves present, right? Open and balanced. And then the last direction or the last dimension is that we center on who and what matters to us. So you just take a moment and really let yourself, let your body answer the question. And I'm going to ask a couple, but let your body answer the question, who matters to you? You know, maybe it's a dear friend, maybe it's a family member, a child. Maybe it's someone in your community. Who matters to you? Let yourself center on your care for them. And then the second question, again, just keep feeling for the answer. You're like, what matters to you for your community and the communities you identify with? Right? What do you want for your communities? Really feel that from the inside out. Maybe you want more freedom for your communities, more safety, more empathy or more interdependence. Like what is it? Yeah. And then the last thing, which is a big question, but a question I think we're all in, is what do you want for the world? You know, we're watching what's happening with Ukraine, right now. We're in the US, we're in this next wave of racial justice movement. Yeah, a next confrontation with the history in the US and white supremacy. Texas, what's happening in Texas, right, around abortion and women's ability to have agency over their own bodies and choices. Like, what do you want for the world? And let yourself feel that, even if you also feel maybe inept or helpless or not knowing what to do, that's okay. We can include all of that. But what do you really long for the world? And let yourself center in that. So whichever of those answers feels most palpable to you, really let what you care about fill out your whole soma. So let it be in your full length, let it be in your width, let it be in your depth. Because what we're practicing is, how does that become your rudder? How does what matters to you become your rudder? And how do you access it, not just conceptually, but you're embodying it, right? You're having it be a reference point for your decisions in your day, or your big decisions, your big life decisions. Embodying what it is we most care about. All right, that is centering. That was a little bit longer version, but it's so nice to practice with you all. And we're going to take centering into a little bit more action, and this is called rowing. And again, the principle, what we're trying to practice inside of rowing, is how can we be in change and in complexity and still stay centered? Right? How can we deal with things when they're more chaotic and still be connected to what we care about? So we're going to go left foot in front. If you're seated, just slide your left foot in front. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move our centers forward. So put more weight on the front foot. If you're seated, just slightly lean forward. Okay, so we're going to come forward and imagine there's a big boat with a bunch of oars that we're all in together. And we're going to grab that oar and then we're going to bring that oar back to center. Ooh, that wasn't a very good thing. I'm hurting the pictures behind me. So out, grabbing the oar, and then bringing it back to center. And if you're seated, again, you can just reach forward and then come back. So let's try this together. Forward and then back. Forward and back. So we're adding more action to our centering. Moving from center, gathering back to center, rowing. And just practicing being in your length and width and depth. Connected to what you care about, but while you're also now in more action. In a moment, I'm going to say change. And what that means is bringing your back leg forward with your arms and your front leg back. If you're seated, it'll be the same thing. You'll just change legs. So it'll go like this. And change. And now I'm switching legs, bringing my back leg forward, my front leg back. Now my right foot is in front and row. Breathing, centering on what you care about, and change. And change. And change every time. So every time my hands come forward, so does my leg. And we've just added a lot more complexity. This is much more like our days and our lives. How do I settle into the change? Keep centering in the change. And connecting to what I care about in the change. And hold. Just take a moment, seated or standing, and feel yourself after that movement. There might be more aliveness, more breath, more energy. Just make space for that so we don't have to tap it down. We can more just make more space. And with that more energy, center again in length, width, and depth. And about your hand on your belly again as that center point, you can do that. And then reconnect with what matters to you. All right. Thank you for that practice. Let's take a seat, those of us standing.